Once upon a time, a boy named Hans lived with his mother. One day, at his mother's request, Hans went to get some flour from the shed. As soon as he opened the shed door, a strong north wind blew in and blew the bag of flour away. Hans chased after the bag, but all the flour inside had been blown away. So Hans told his mother that he would get the flour back, and ran after the north wind. Then Hans cried out at the top of his lungs, "Oh, north wind, you blew away my precious flour. Give me back my flour." Then the north wind answered, shaking the air like an earthquake, "You blew away the flour from your house? I see, then I have to give it back. But there is no flour here. I have no choice, I'll give you this." And so, the north wind tossed him a tablecloth. This tablecloth is not just a tablecloth. Put this tablecloth on the table and say, "Tablecloth, give me a delicious meal," and a mountain of delicious delicacies will appear. Hans picked up the tablecloth with great joy, shouted thanks to the north wind, and hurried off towards his house. However, since he had been running since midday, it was already completely dark, and Hans was tired, so he decided to stay at a nearby inn. He went into his room, put the tablecloth that the north wind had given him on the table, sat down and said, "Tablecloth, give me a delicious meal." Then, a great number of delicious delicacies, the like of which Hans had never eaten before, were laid out on the table, and Hans was so happy that he ate his fill and was very satisfied. But the innkeeper's wife was watching through the gap in the door. "Oh, with that tablecloth, I don't have to cook, and I don't have to go shopping. Even if I get the money for the meal, so it's a big profit." The wife immediately told her husband about this, and while Hans was fast asleep, she replaced the tablecloth that the north wind had given her with a similar tablecloth. The next day, when Hans returned home, he immediately spread the tablecloth on the table, and in front of his mother, who was wondering. He told her to put a feast on the tablecloth. However, there was not even a piece of bread on the table. Not even a feast like the one Hans had eaten last night. He grabbed the tablecloth, which still didn't come out, and came back to the north wind. "Hey, it's the north wind. This tablecloth is no good. Give me back my flour. Isn't the tablecloth good enough? But there's no flour here. This is a problem. Well, let's have this then." As soon as the north wind finished speaking, a sheep came trotting out. "Take the sheep and go back home and say to it, 'Sheep, sheep, give me lots of gold coins, and you'll have a mountain of gold coins right in front of you.'" Hans was overjoyed and decided to go back home with the sheep. However, it got dark on the way back, so he decided to stay at the inn again. The innkeeper looked at Hans again when he said he wanted to stay with his sheep, and became worried about whether he had any money. But he brought a feast to Hans' room, served on the north wind's tablecloth that he had stolen from Hans the other day, and watched him for a while. After having a hearty and delicious meal, Hans said to the sheep, "Sheep, sheep, give me lots of gold coins." Then the sheep that the north wind had given him started to cry, and began to spit out the gold coins. Seeing that a small pile of gold coins had formed in front of Hans in no time, the innkeeper and his wife immediately brought a sheep, dressed like the one Hans had brought, and replaced it while Hans was sleeping. The next day, Hans returned home and called his mother to give orders to the sheep. But the sheep only whined and did not give him a single gold coin. Angry, Hans hurried with the sheep to the north wind. "Hey, north wind, this sheep is useless. I'll give the sheep back, so please give me back my flour." "You can't even use the sheep." "But we have no flour here." "Well, how about this one then?" As soon as the north wind finished speaking, a stick fell to the ground. "This is a magic wand. Say to it, staff. Bash the bad guys, and it will happen." Hans didn't think he would be satisfied with the staff he received. But he wanted to see what a staff used to bash bad guys looked like. So he reluctantly picked it up and went back home. Hans realized that the one the north wind had given him was no longer of any use when he got home. So he stayed at the inn again, went to bed right away, and pretended to be asleep. That same night, the innkeeper and his wife came and sneaked into Hans's room. They quietly took Hans' staff and tried to replace it with the one they had brought with them, but Hans cried out softly, "Staff, bash the bad guys." Then the staff shot up and, without a moment's pause, began to hit the innkeeper and his wife. "Oh, it hurts. It hurts. Ah, it hurts. It hurts." Unable to run away, the two of them cried to Hans, "I'm sorry, I'll give you back the tablecloth and the sheep, but please stop." Ouch! 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 Hans got the tablecloth and the sheep back, went back to the house, put the tablecloth on the table, and had the most delicious and wonderful meal he had ever eaten with. His mother handed her a mountain of gold coins that the sheep had put out, and said, "Now, with this staff, we won't be afraid of bad guys anymore. With the 3 treasures the north wind gave us, we can live happily ever after. I'm glad for you."